Hello and welcome to Celtic Australis podcast. I'm here with Michael Tomalaris, who's a very big man in sports journalism in Australia for all of you in Scotland. And he's actually known Ange Postecoglou for, well, basically his entire adult life. He's been gracious enough to join us today. Welcome on board, Michael.
Thanks, Gavin. Good to be here.
You're in Adelaide at the moment.
Yeah, look, I'm in Adelaide. I've just done a documentary on a cyclist, a 59-year-old journalist, former journalist actually, who's ridden his bicycle from Darwin, which is at the top of Australia, down to Adelaide, where I am, which is a total distance of almost 4,000 kilometres. He took a detour, mind you, to Uluru, Ayers Rock, that big rock in the middle of the country. He's doing it for a couple of reasons, to train for a big event in the United States called Race Across America, and also for mental health awareness. We're documenting it, and I've seen some of the country I've never seen before. Australia is very, very big, let me tell you.
I've actually lived in Darwin and in Alice Springs. I did 6 months in Darwin. I did 4 months in the Springs. When I was in Alice Springs, it was in February 2000, and oh God, I'm showing my age here, 2008. And there was something like 10 consecutive days above 40 degrees. And they said to me, I was like, God, how hot is it? And they go, look, mate, even the locals are complaining about it. You know it's hot when the locals complain about how hot it is in Alice Springs. But
well, you must have been there in the summertime. I'm here in the wintertime, and it's in the desert. And even though it is hot when you were here, it's freezing cold in the mornings. You're down to 0 degrees. Yeah, that's the desert for you in Australia.
Yeah, look, I was there from February till May, and in May I had a job. I used to ride my bicycle, and freezing cold, I couldn't feel my nose, my ears, or my lips by the time I arrived at work. It's absolutely insane. And then, of course, but the good thing in winter, you've got that beautiful sun. Anyway, getting on to the football, Ange Postecoglou, it's a bit of a surprise for a lot of Celtic fans. He's a bit of a bolter. We were chasing Eddie Howe for a good long time. It fell through, and then straight away we went back to Ange. Now there's a bit of conspiracy. People, on one hand, they're saying he's been tracked for a great deal, many months and years, even sometimes in the papers. Others are saying it's a panic appointment. I myself have been to a great many Socceroos games. I've loved Ange's philosophy. Unfortunately, I saw us in 2014 in Brazil, where we were given a poison chalice of Chile, Holland and Spain. But we still played some great football there. I was absolutely fortunate. Probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in football was the 2015 Asian Cup. Watching us win it at home still always gets the goosebumps up on me. And we saw how Ange took a broken team and how he fixed it, how he took a tired squad and how he regenerated it. What do you think about Ange? You've seen his career for the length and breadth of his career. How would you describe the man and his ability to take on the challenge at Celtic?
I've known Ange since the age of 21, when he was a player for South Melbourne in the National Soccer League of Australia. And in those days, back in the early 1990s, I was commentating on football. And I can remember one day when we were in Melbourne, we're generally from Sydney, but we were in Melbourne commentating on his match. And he had been injured and he wasn't playing, but he came around to the commentary position and started asking me questions. He was very curious about how the whole outside broadcast setup is actually set up. So I got to know him there and then. He was a very curious human being way back then, away from football. And I think that curiosity has taken him to the levels of coaching and as a player prior to that during his career. Look, Ange is inquisitive and he likes to learn. He is definitely the best coach that we have produced from Australia. And don't forget, Australia did very, very well at the 2006 World Cup. Sure, it was before his time when the Socceroos made it to the round of 16 before losing to Italy. But Ange has won 2 national titles here in Australia. He won the Asian Cup, as you say, in 2015. And look, Asian football is quality football. To win that tournament is a huge feather in his cap. And that's the reason why Yokohama took him on. He spent 2 seasons there, took a broken team to championship level, And it doesn't surprise me that Scotland and Celtic in particular is after his services. I think the Celtic supporters will be surprised. Sure, they are surprised at the signing, but they'll be more than surprised when he delivers results, and I believe he will.
Oh, I'm actually one of the minority, but I'm a vocal minority on this. Like I've been telling everyone who wants to listen, Ange is a quality signing. Look, the one thing about Ange is that his footballing philosophy is a very progressive one. He likes to play out from the back. He likes energy in his football. He doesn't just punt the ball long. He never parks the bus. I remember there was talk. A journalist asked him a question like, "Well, are we going to be a little bit more cautious, with some of these bigger games coming up at the World Cup?" He said, "Look, you want us to play defensively. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to have a red hot crack at them." When in that World Cup, we had Chile, we lost 2-1. In that game, Tim Cahill had a goal chopped off for being marginally offside, and he was offside. But we were so close to getting a draw out of that. That was a magnificent Chile team. Then you're talking about we went up against Holland. In the entire World Cup, only one team led against Holland. Of course, they got knocked out on penalties, and that was Australia. We were 2-1 up against Holland. We threw that lead away, but at the same time losing 3-2. But we're the only team at the World Cup to lead Holland. We had a red-hot crack at them, and they were a magnificent defensive team to score 2 goals against them. Then in a dead rubber, we got turned over by Spain, 3-0. But at the same time, we still had a go at the world champions. We're talking about not just the world champions, but the European champions at the same time, and probably one of the best Spanish teams, in the history of that nation. We still had a go at them. And he's going to go into the football at Celtic. He's thrown in the deep end, sure, but he's the sort of man that he can rise to the challenge. Like you said with Yokohama, I believe they were about 18th, or they came 18th or something like that when he took over. And then there was the rebuild, and then next thing you know, they're the champions, winning the J League as well. This is not an easy thing. A lot of people outside of Europe, or a lot of people in Europe, aren't going to give Asian football the credit it deserves. But the Japanese league is a far harder league to win than most leagues in Europe.
I totally agree with you, Gavin. I think it's time for the Scots, the British, and even the Europeans far and wide to have a lot more respect for Asian football, particularly in Japan. Why do you think a lot of Brazilian, South American players end up there? Sure, the pay packets are good, but the quality of football is exceptional as well. The Japanese team, they dominate the Asian Champions League as well. To win the J League after taking the squad from 18th to Premiership, Championship material is a tremendous attribute for Ange Postecoglou. It's time, I believe, that Scottish football woke up to the fact that the Japanese league, I'll make a bold statement here, is stronger than the Scottish league. Apart from Celtic and Rangers, 2 teams that continuously dominate, the J League is up there amongst the best, if not better than the Scottish league. So I think it's time for a little bit of respect.
I agree. This is one thing I've said, to win the Scottish League, you have to be the manager of one of 2 clubs. Basically, at the start of every season in Japan, there's half a dozen teams that are championship candidates. Straight off, it's a very, very balanced league. It's far harder to win the Japanese league than most leagues in Europe. Have a look at the moment. In Germany, Bayern has a mortgage on the championship. Juve have won about 9 of the last 10 or something like that in Italy. You have a look at Spain. There's Atleti pop up every now and then. The rest of it's just Real and Barca. In Japan, it's a very balanced game.
Yeah, can I just say this is a great opportunity for Ange. Apart from trying to lift the championship with Celtic, it's a great opportunity for him also to become the first Australian coach to take a team to the European Champions League. And I think that's his main goal, main ambition in signing up with Celtic. Sure, it's a great opportunity to bigger and better things in Europe, but why not start with a wonderful club with a terrific history than Celtic?
Yes, well, this is one thing, and this is almost a bit of a poison chalice. If Ange had been brought in a month, 2 months ago, well, it would be much better for him. He'd have more time with the rebuild. Obviously, he's got quarantine issues as well in the UK. He's got to do about a fortnight of self-isolation. But this is the thing. We have Champions League qualifiers in mid-July. So he's going to get out of quarantine, go straight to the training ground, inherit a squad which is coming back from the European Championships, players that want to wait, needing to bring players in, and boom, he's thrown straight in the deep end. Now, the first few qualifying rounds of this are generally quite easy. That said, Celtic fell in the third round to Ferencvaros of Hungary last year round, and it torpedoed our season. Neil Lennon went out and complained about the players. He threw them under the bus and they didn't want to play for him. The club at that stage, they should have either sacked him or they should have sold the players. You know, he lost the dressing room and it was just a slow death. It was an incredible season last year. Well, seriously, don't want to get into it. It's early morning here. It's a bit too early for me to get the whiskey out. But put it this way, with Ange, he could pretty much say that he's going to get some teams from the minnows early on that he should be able to get through with whatever team he can patch together. But he's going to need some signings early. And then... well, we go through 4 rounds, Celtic or Scotland, to get to the Champions League, but he's a chance of doing that in his first season, his first month.
Yeah, well, I wish him all the best, and I think if anybody can do it, it's Ange Postecoglou. I'm not exactly sure what the draw is, Gavin. Perhaps you can tell me what teams that he is playing, Celtic are playing before the proper competition starts.
We haven't been drawn as yet, so but we're waiting. But look, generally, we're going to get some. Last year, we got teams from Latvia first, then we got a team from Iceland, then we got a team from Hungary. Then you get teams in the playoff round and this, that, the other. Oof, there can be some hard ones. The other thing is, this year, we're not in the Champions draw. Before this, there was just one team from Scotland who got it. So if you get through the Champions draw, you'd only play against other champions. So that means you didn't come up against the 4th best team in England, for example. Now, we're not in the Champions draw. We're in the, in the qualifying draw. We could come up against all sorts of horrors in that playoff round, let alone, and that's speaking quite highly because we didn't make the playoff round last time round. We came up against AEK Athens a couple of years back, and they knocked us out. Obviously, the Greek league's very strong as well, but we'll have to see. Again, this is the thing with Ange. Ange he's a left field candidate for many, but for mine, and from what I'm hearing with yourself, he's a man of pedigree, and he's a man that, he rises to challenges. Hopefully he can rise to this one early. And if he can't get into the Champions League, it's a massive hurdle to jump on such a short notice. Hopefully Celtic fans and the board can give him this time. He deserves the respect of being able to get this window out of the way, build the team which can relate to his philosophy, and then be judged over the 38-game season.
I think so. Give the guy a chance. It's not a usual thing for Scotland to have an Australian coach on its books. Just be patient, Celtic. Just be patient. That's what Ange wants. Just patience. And look, he'll deliver. He doesn't do things in halves, by halves. I think you've got the right man for the right job. Celtic will go far this season.
I'm glad to hear, because I actually believe the exact same thing. One thing, of course, at Celtic, we have Tommy Rogic at the club. Now, one thing with Tom, he's been plagued with injuries, and he's turned almost into a 60-minute man. We very rarely get a 90-minute game. If we do, he's generally not playing the next one. He's on the physio bench. We've had a little bit of luck with relation to 2 teams which had plastic pitches, both got relegated. So whenever we came up against Hamilton or Kilmarnock, we just couldn't play him because he'd be out for a month after running around on that concrete. So I'm thinking this could be a very good thing also for the Socceroos, that Ange is going to be able to get the best out of Tom at a club level, and hopefully that's going to flow on to Graham Arnold's national team.
Well, let's hope so, because Rogic, as the Celtic supporters know, is quality. It's a shame that he hasn't really fulfilled his full potential. When he was younger, I saw him as the next Mark Viduka, a former Celtic player as well. But unfortunately, injuries have plagued his career. There'll be a good relationship between Ange Postecoglou and Rogic, and let's hope that he does come good, because I think Celtic needs a player like Rogic at full capacity.
Okay. So anyway, lots of big news ahead for Celtic and for Ange Postecoglou. Thanks very much for your time today, Michael Tomalaris, and all the best back in Australia.
Have faith, Celtic fans. Postecoglou will deliver. I can't reiterate that enough. It's been a pleasure, Gavin.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
All right, mate. Bye-bye. Thank you.